For our viewers that are watching this that may not have access to our Twitter, we try to spend all week live tweeting the shows. With there being 2 shows on Wednesday nights, Sims and I have to split it up. He does the live tweeting for NXT, and I do the live tweeting for AEW, which has been great. We've been getting a lot of interaction on Twitter. Love to see it. If you haven't followed us yet, you could. It's at Sims Getz It. We'll post it in the description below the video. More to come on that a little bit later. But Sims is going to pretty much lead the conversation for NXT, and then we're going to segue into AEW, talk about the information there. So what do you got for NXT this week, man?
All right. So, honestly, this comparatively to most episodes of NXT, it was not great. There were some solid things, but there was a lot of filler that I didn't really enjoy. But, hey, everybody has a different cup of tea. Started off with Karen Cross, pretty much squashed Danny Burch, as he's pretty much squashed literally everyone. And then Keith Lee came out with a contract. He's like, hey, sign this shit, bro.
Real quick, so for folks that may not watch NXT, Karrion Kross is the name of the character formerly known as Killer Kross.
Yeah.
So.
He was given a contract, he signed, and then Scarlett, his valet, or I don't know the correct term for that.
I would more so nowadays I'd probably say manager.
Manager, okay. Don't want to be politically incorrect here. I apologize if I was.
Trick move. We don't care. Enjoy.
So, and then there was like a little fireball thing that popped out of the contract when Keith Lee got it back. Which is kind of silly in my opinion. Like, it's kind of like an Undertaker Kane type thing, and I don't think Karrion Kross needs that because it's already a badass, and I don't really see the need for the supernatural stuff. But hey, whatever. Then we,
say really quickly about NXT, and we talked about this a little bit this week whenever we were texting back and forth. I'm not a big fan. I understand it because what is there really left for Keith Lee? And I understand you want to put your two of your bigger attractions as one of the main events for your NXT 30, like your big show that's coming up. I get it. Not a fan of them putting Keith Lee and Karrion Kross in the same match this early. I would like to see Kross maybe hold the North American title for a little bit. I don't think that he necessarily needs it unless they're trying to get like, hey, Vince really fucking loves you, Keith, so we're going to drop the belt and we're going to get you up to the main roster kind of thing. Because could you just imagine a Big E Langston, Keith Lee Intercontinental title program?
It'd be pretty sick. Be pretty sick. I love Keith Lee. So just real quickly touch on a couple of these things. There's some that I will get into a little bit, but Killian Dane and Drake Maverick had a match. David versus Goliath type stuff, except in WWE, a lot of times David doesn't win. Drake Maverick put up a solid fight, but and then the Undisputed Era came out, which is something we should discuss. The Undisputed Era came out and beat the hell out of Killian Dane and Drake Maverick. And then Adam Cole took the mic. He called out Pat McAfee and said, you will never last in my world. You can't last in my world. This storyline has been very interesting since.
I want to say this really quickly before we get into the McAfee Cole stuff. Drake Maverick, get your ass on Raw Underground. We need you there. I think you would. I think you could be the cherry that they need. But continue.
Shout out to Wayne for saying that in our group chat because honestly, I would have never thought of Drake Maverick in Raw Underground.
You said it. I was like, yeah, you know what? I need it.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Of what Wayne would say.
Neat. So I think it was about 3 weeks ago. Adam Cole was on the Pat McAfee Show podcast as a guest, or actually it was a radio show, but irregardless. And if you don't know Pat McAfee, he likes to rile people up just a little bit. He'll poke little jokes at people and little jokes. And he was kind of ribbing another wrestling term, which just means, picking on someone essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. He's kind of ribbing Adam Cole with, saying that the Undisputed Era was the only reason he was champion for 400 days. And then he called him small, and Adam Cole snapped. He pushed a microphone stand onto a floor, pushed one of the other members of Pat's podcast, and told Pat to fuck himself and stormed out. So, and there was a big – go ahead.
I just want to – I don't know who's responsible for it. I don't know whose brainchild it was. I don't know if it was Adam Cole's. I don't know if it was Pat McAfee's. I don't know if it was Triple H or one of the other producers on that show. Like, I know Brian James is a part of it, HBK, things like that. But I love this kind of stuff whenever it happens in wrestling. I just got a wild hair up my ass whenever I saw that happen. It was trending on Twitter. It lit the wrestling world on fire. It was great. All the major hitters like Cage Side Seats, shout out to you because I read your stuff every morning. Everybody was talking about it. And I was like, you know what? This is kind of crazy. Just out of curiosity, when did the issue with Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman happen? For those that don't know, years and years and years ago, Jerry Lawler was and Andy Kaufman, comedian at the time, and kind of going into like way before his time, intergender wrestling. He was the intergender champion of the world. And Lawler was like, "Oh, be a real man, toxic masculinity, all that bullshit." And David Letterman invited both of them on, I think it was a Tonight Show or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That segment happened where Lawler smacked Andy Kaufman on live TV. Was almost 38 years to the day that it happened with McAfee and Adam Cole, which in both of their professions at the time, Pat McAfee has 3 times the amount of followers that NXT's Twitter page does. Adam Cole is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now at what he does. The paying homage to history like that is one of my most favorite things about wrestling. So whoever's love child that was, or brainchild rather, hats off to you. Kudos. I can't say more about it. But Pat getting Rip Rogers to train him, nailing his promos on ESPN. He's all in. And I think it's something very important to say whenever Pat McAfee is all in on something, expect the match to meet your expectations. I'm all in on it.
And I mean, personally, Adam Cole's one of my favorite wrestlers in the world right now. I'm a big NXT guy, obviously. And Adam Cole, he's incredible in every aspect of wrestling, in my opinion, other than his size. Sorry, don't hurt me. And Pat McAfee, honestly, I had never listened to a podcast in my life before I listened to the Pat McAfee show. So the beginnings of podcast being a part of my life, and to the point where I'm on one now, it's pretty sweet, is the Pat McAfee show. This is a guy that signed a contract where he was going to make $1 million a year kicking footballs. And he walked away from it to go start a podcast with his friends. And a couple years later, and he's like on top of the game, and he's killing it. And he's got deals with ESPN and all these other companies. This is a guy that puts his mind to something, and he absolutely destroys it. So, yeah, like you said, I think
he helped build, for those that don't know about Pat, he helped build the Barstool brand for what it is today. They have, you disagree?
I think it was a very mutual thing. I think Barstool already had a big following, and that helped him get his foot in the door with some listeners. But he also had his diehard like indie people that knew him from playing for the Colts, um, and also Pittsburgh people. He's a Pittsburgh guy, and yeah, so I think it was a good mix. I think it brought new people into Barstool that were already fans of Pat, and then it brought more fans to Pat that were already fans of Barstool. So I think it's a very mutual thing, um, and that's something I'm very into. So
Yeah. And that's fine. I'm not well versed on Barstool stuff like you are, so I will 10 out of 10 times will defer to you on anything Barstool related.
okay,
I just don't
there
know.
won't be much. I don't think there'll be much Barstool discussion, but if there ever is, I got you.
Yep. Anything else for NXT?
Damian Priest and Bronson Reed had a pretty good match. Bronson Reed just keeps building steam, man. I could honestly see him winning the ladder match. And while we're on the ladder match, we had triple threat between Cameron Grimes, Kushida, and the returning Velveteen Dream to be a part of that ladder match. Cameron Grimes ended up coming out on top. And while I just said that Bronson Reed could be a favorite for that match, at this point, I think Cameron Grimes is the favorite. I don't think he's undefeated, but he doesn't have many losses, and he's had some pretty good wins. They're doing that like second chance qualifier thing. We're gonna get Velveteen Dream versus Finn Balor next week, which should be great. Just to quickly, I'm not going to get too into it, just to quickly address the controversies surrounding Velveteen Dream. I'm not going to speculate too much, but in my opinion, if he's back on TV, WWE's investigators, along with the police, have cleared him because in today's climate, I do not think WWE would put him back on TV if he wasn't exonerated. So that's all I really have to say about that. I understand that it's a very touchy subject, and I understand people are going to be upset seeing him on television. But false accusations do happen, and it looks like that this was the case.
Yeah, I think that's well put. Let that stuff with the experts because we are by no means experts in that subject or anything like that. So I do agree. I think we need to side with you and not really speculate on it or anything like that. Personally, for me, and I don't know how others feel, I would like if they did address them and did do their due diligence with investigating, I would like to see it be talked about because it was a very public thing. There are wrestlers around the world that deservingly so have been proven guilty and have lost their jobs over the speaking out movement that happened a few years ago or a few months ago. I'm sorry. So yeah, again, not going to spend too much time on it, but looking forward to Dream versus Balor next week. I think that's going to be a great match. And the fact that I actually get to watch NXT next week because AEW is moving night temporarily because of the NBA playoffs. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Anything else on NXT, buddy?
No, that's everything else was kind of crap.
That's okay. I don't have too much on AEW. I'm not going to recap the show or anything like that, but I think some really important points. Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder from WWE, made his AEW debut. I got to be honest, and I've shared this opinion with you and Wayne. At this point, we're going to have to bring Wayne on because we've name dropped that guy like 8 times.
Yeah,
But I'm still not into him. And I feel bad about that because he can go in the ring and he's got a great look to him, but I'm not excited. He looks like a creator wrestler to me. He's got nothing special. And I don't know. That's how I feel about it. But I will tell you this. That dude was fucking jacked whenever he came back.
He's a big
So
dude.
I'll be interested to see if they do anything with him. I would love to see a heel turn because I don't think we've seen too much heel Zack Ryder since he was an edgehead.
Yeah.
Which I would be into. I think it would be fun. Give him a feud with Cody. But yeah. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the main event from AEW this week was Jericho and Cassidy had a $7,000 obligation match. And God, was it terrible. Which it sucks because I love Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
But I think it's the point, Jericho, you're going to have – Jericho, buddy, just tough for me to say, but you're either going to have to go behind the scenes or – and don't get me wrong, I'm no beach body myself, but you're going to have to do something to get the in-ring cardio up. There's a lot of controversy with Jericho this past week. Again, not a medical expert, so don't want to touch on it too much, but Jericho and Fozzy, his rock band, spent some time at Sturgis doing a concert for several thousand people, which, okay, thankfully enough, we live in America, and it's your choice to do whatever you want to do. We'll leave it at that. But you definitely look a bit gassed, brother. You ran out of steam pretty quickly. There was a lot of spots where Cassidy spent some time out of the ring. The finish was terrible. It was supposed to be some sort of mousetrap pin that I don't think I've ever seen. Taz really went in on it. And he was like, "Oh wow, that was such a great pin by Orange Cassidy." And I've been watching wrestling for 20 years. I don't know that I've ever seen a mousetrap pin before.
Right. I've never heard
it
that.
Felt like they were rushed. It felt like they didn't spend time, give themselves enough time. But and wasn't a big fan of a roll up style victory for Orange Cassidy.
Right.
You hear people bitch online a lot about WWE not building stars and stuff like that. I think Cassidy really needed a clean, legit finish on that match to kind of be built up. He's already over with a lot of people that follow AEW in the internet wrestling community. I don't know. I just think Cassidy could have been elevated a little bit more for that match. And last but not least for AEW, I'm really excited about this, man. And I think you are too. I remember your feelings on MJF, but I'm really looking forward to John
Moxley, that three-letter guy,
and MJF at All Out. Really getting behind his campaign idea. He's kind of dropping these promos that he's kind of campaigning in the middle of the ring. Very, very, and I've seen the stuff online, so don't get it twisted. Very, very similar to what EC3 did several years ago in Impact whenever he first came up with Dixie Carter, all that stuff, which is fine. I think a lot of people really think that their characters are way too similar to begin with. I am one of those. But you can't knock MJF's talent. He's got the voice. He can go in the ring. Really looking forward to it, and I think it's time for Moxley to drop the belt. I really do. Don't want to get into it too much because we're going to probably have a prediction show for All Out. But
yeah,
they're running out of people for Mox, and it's tough because they keep bringing in Brian Cage. They keep bringing in
Brody Lee.
Brody Lee, thank you. I almost said his other name.
We don't talk about that. Because we don't talk about his Swamp Critter name.
Swamp Critter name. I love it. Yeah, that's really all I have for AEW. Do you have any questions or comments?
I do have one thing. I don't try to put too much stock into rumors, but I did read a rumor, speaking of Swamp Critter, that
another very nicely red-bearded gentleman.
The former Eric Rowan might be showing up in AEW soon to join his former Swamp Critter brethren. So,
if those are true, which I do hope they are, I think it is incredibly time for Cody to drop the TNT title.
He's the open challenge has been really fun.
It's me, man, because they have been really fun, and I think it's been great wrestling. But for all the shit and things that you've talked about and kind of putting yourself up against NXT. Well, I guess NXT put themselves up against AEW. It wasn't the other way around.
Yeah.
But talking all that shit and like smashing the throne with the sledgehammer and all that stuff, buddy, you're kind of turning into 2002 Triple H.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I think it's like he has, I don't know how much creative control he has, but I think it's a lot. I don't think it's 100%, but
him and all the elite are EVP. And it's tough because 3 of them have belts right now.
Yeah. I think it's kind of funny to me that Cody left WWE for, I think the control is a big part of it, but also like he felt like he toiled away in the mid card and was given bad gimmicks. And his gimmick's better, but he's kind of booking himself as a mid card champion.
Well, I think that's the excuse or the talking point. Well, I'm not Triple H because I'm not the top guy.
Right.
Okay, but I don't know.
So you're like a more high profile Miz. He was like an 8-time Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode of Sims Gets It. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button below and following us on Twitter at Sims Gets It.